All right, welcome back to another episode at Booty HQ. One thing we asked you to do that will really help us out is if you can like and subscribe right below the video, we'd greatly appreciate it. It is always a great day at Booty HQ, but today is an even special day. We got a very special guest, one of my all-time favorite, a great teammate, great athlete on, off the field, and he plays for the New Orleans Saints now. So you guys welcome Danny onto the show. Danny, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely, man. When you text me, responded in seconds, man. I was so excited to be on the show. You've had some good ones before, but I know today we're going to make it, one of the best episodes you've had. General, thank you for having me.
Of course. There's no one else we'd rather have on, and like you said, you responded, I think, in like literally 30 seconds. So that's the fastest response we've got for the show. So again, we're super excited to have you on today. Going through it, we're just going to go from, when we first met, our times at Oklahoma, some stories that the fans are curious about, I'm curious about actually as well, and to where you're at today, in Louisiana, playing for the New Orleans Saints. So let's just rip right into it. One of our first impressions, how we met. Obviously, we were teammates at Oklahoma, but going into the season, I walked into my first class, and first person I saw was you, and you're actually sitting with a girl who's actually now your girlfriend, which is a crazy story, and we can get into that. But who knew that was going to be your girlfriend at the time? And you invited me to come sit down with you, which was awesome. I didn't know anyone, but kind of chopped it up and went from there. Is there any first impressions or anything you remember from having classes together? Obviously, we got stories as teammates and grew closer in the locker room on the field, but anything on your end?
I think I definitely knew who you were, with that legendary name. I think I would see like Instagram posts all the time about General Booty. An idea of my mind of who you were.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got to meet you, it was like a totally different thing. I didn't know too many people. I, obviously went out of my way, and I think, you were a cool dude. So I wanted to, be friends with that guy. And we actually then switched majors.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I think me and you had like every single class together. I think we both start off as business. I don't know what you got here as.
Yep. Business.
This isn't going to work, man. We got to do communications.
Right. I think we had class together for like a year straight, almost like 5 out of 6 classes we had together.
Kind of a start of a very great, legendary friendship between me and you.
So we got to spend a lot of time together, which was obviously fun. And again, I appreciate you letting me under your wing when I first got there. Moving on from there, you got a year left, and it looks like you're going to the draft. We're all thinking, Danny's taking off, he's gone. But I hop on Instagram, and this video pops up, the Corvette, the legendary picture with the Boz, and then you pop up. And I'm like, what's going on? Boz tosses you the keys. You got the fur coat on. You're in the vet, right? And then it says, I'm coming back for another year. How in the world did that all happen? Was that something you drew up in your head? Was that something the Boz came to you? How did you reach out? Like, what were the logistics of it? Because that was a pretty sick video, and it definitely went crazy, and it was very cool.
Yeah, so I think, that junior year, I was making a solid case for like a Butkus Award like ceremony, like
Right.
so all that footage was actually supposed to be for like a Butkus campaign my junior year.
Okay.
And so like by week like 7, we shot all this footage, whatever, and then like we are gonna post it, and like the Butkus like semifinalist, like top 16 comes out, and I get absolutely snubbed.
Right.
And so
That was a big deal. I remember that too. We were all like, what in the world?
right. Yeah, like arguably my sophomore year, my junior year was like arguably better than my senior year. Like I kind of balled out. We had all this footage, and they're like, "What are we gonna do with it?" Actually, me and you were actually working on a group project for one of our classes.
Yep.
I get a call from Coach Venables, and I'm like, "All right, let me step out." At the end of the day, like my heart really wasn't with leaving Oklahoma yet. I want to play one more year. Solidify myself as one of the top linebackers in Oklahoma. I think Coach Venables knew that deep down, so he made that call. I got to specify, like, that Corvette was not mine. The Boz probably had one back in the day, but unfortunately that was not my white vet to keep.
Yeah, no, but it still was pretty cool saying that. And so I remember, obviously, when that dropped, we were all like, oh, awesome, Danny's coming back. While we're on the topic of social media, he posted, I think it was a couple pictures, maybe like a slideshow, you making a tackle, celebrating, something like that. and the caption read, "I'm like communion. I'm the cracker with the juice." And we all thought it was super funny as teammates, right? And it was something we shared along the team. Well, all of a sudden, Christian McCaffrey's commenting on it, Little Yachty, guys like that, and it starts going viral. So we all thought that was pretty cool. What were you thinking when you made the post? Were you like in meetings and looked down and all of a sudden Christian McCaffrey's commented on your photo, or you got all these likes, or like how did it come to be?
Actually, that whole like Instagram thing was funny because like it was originally like another linebacker's caption, but he's like, bro, like I don't play enough for this caption to be cool. He's like, you got to use it, and I was like, bro, like you could post like, nah, bro, it'd be corny if I posted it. I was like, all right, like I'll throw it on the ground, I'll see how it does, and
Right.
I posted it, whatever. Some other captions are decent, but yeah, that one just blew up, man, like out of nowhere. Just Alvin Kamara comments on it. Now we're teammates, which is kind of cool, but yeah, it just went kind of mega viral in the locker room, a little controversial. Like there were some players that came to me and were like, dude, like you gotta delete that. Like it's against, like some religious stuff. And at the end of the day, like I'm a pretty lighthearted dude. I was like, it's not that deep. And I've had some dudes stop talking to me because of that post. But
Really? So see, I didn't even know that as your teammate, and we all knew you as a great leader, a great teammate. You love to have fun, and you worked hard, while doing it, while having fun, right? You can do both. So I never took it as anything that way, but I guess I could see, everyone's got different perspectives, right? And you got 120 something guys on the team, so I guess you never know. But at the end of the day, we all knew it was in good fun. A lot of us really liked it and thought it was funny, and obviously so did guys like Alvin Kamara and Little Yachty and Christian McCaffrey. So I'm glad you did end up posting it because that was pretty funny. Do you have any stories of when you got to Oklahoma having to gain weight, or them telling you to put on 20 pounds, or you had to eat some absurd, meals to put on weight?
my junior year, I went to like a Coach Venables like Clemson football camp. I was probably like a buck 90, something like that. And I ball out, Coach Venables says, he's like, man, you gained 30 pounds, Stutsman. Like, we would definitely love to have you. Obviously Clemson never offered me that. They wanted Jaron Kanek instead or whoever.
I have a story kind of like that. When I was in junior college, I played a full season, had a really good season. I went into the spring. Something I struggled with my whole career, even when I was at Oklahoma, was putting on, a lot of weight. So I was playing JUCO at about 185, which is pretty light, not very great. So saying that, after the season, coach on the staff that will not be named was like, hey, I played college ball and was a quarterback at the time too, and we took this, and it's like a little liquid dropper. You take 2 drops a day, and it's all good. You're just gonna start putting on weight and muscle. So I was like, okay, whatever. I ordered it. I didn't even look into it. It was in junior college. I should have. That wasn't smart, but we weren't getting tested or anything. So I started taking it in the off season. And I'll show you guys a picture, pop it up on the screen in a second. But from 2 months, I recorded like all my PRs and my weight, and I went from like 183 pounds to 201. My bench shot up 50 pounds, my back squat 75, 100 pounds, the whole deal. And it was night and day. And I've never told anyone that story before. And Coach Levy shows up for our spring, comes to meet me, and it reminds me I need to ask him, like, did he think anything when he first saw me, physically, that I looked the part, or if I would have been 15, 20 pounds lighter, would he have offered me, or what that would have looked like? But that was a funny story that reminded me of that, and I believe I've shared it with you before.
I know for a fact, like players back in the day were 100% doing it. I remember a former player who won't be named, came to spoke to our team. Freshman year, I was the smallest guy in the room, and I came back that next year. I worked my tail off, and I was the biggest guy in the meeting room.
All right, so we've talked about our time at Oklahoma, but now let's talk about season's over. You have a great season, and it's time for the draft, right? So you're from Florida, correct? And so you go back to Florida to go train. And next thing I know, obviously I'm keeping up with you, but next thing you know, I'm seeing you on YouTube with Coach Gruden, and he's training you and breaking it down. Y'all are watching film together.
Being with Gruden was a cool experience, man. He's a great offensive mind, and he was a great head coach. And so being out there was a little surreal. And he does this thing. It's like knock on wood if you're with me, and you just have to bang on the table. And in New Orleans, we had a lot of guys that were with him in the Raiders, and I get there and like in the meetings where everyone's just knocking on wood.
And he's an All-American. Let's knock on wood for him. He's all SEC. He's a badass.
Really cool experience, man. It's stressful because he's like Coach Venables, where it's like out of nowhere he's just gonna raise his voice to like give you a shock.
So saying that you're Mike linebacker, you're playing for the New Orleans Saints. What has the experience been like at the Saints? I know it's NFL season's different, right? You made it through one. You're in New Orleans. Are you enjoying the city, the guys, the teammates, the culture, the players? How are you liking it there? How are you adjusting? Is it much different from what you thought it was going to be?
So when I got drafted in New Orleans, I really had no idea, what New Orleans was like. I kind of went into it with an idea that it was like Oklahoma or Texas, which obviously it's quite opposite from that. I think I was a little shocked at first, but not in a bad way. I think New Orleans is a city that's one of a kind, full of culture, incredible people that, breathe, live, and sleep, New Orleans Saints football, which is awesome to be a part of. Incredible, man. I've had no complaints, when it comes to that.
That's absolutely awesome, and love to hear it. Glad you're enjoying it and having a great time.
No, 100%, man. I think I'm excited to see you soon, bro. It's been way too long. We're long overdue.
We are long overdue, and I'm not sure when you're going to get back to New Orleans after the off season, but I'm going to come down. Mark my word, I'm coming down to a game this year, and a home game, obviously, and go to the Superdome and come check it out. Danny, thanks for coming on. We always enjoy having you, and we'll get you back on again soon. And enjoy the off season, and I'll see you here soon. Keep working on that golf game.
There we go. Thank you, General.
You can take a look at it. We got it up right there on the mannequin.
Now, is it true that they actually, for that mannequin, they used like a model of your ass?
It is a unit inch per inch mold. It took almost a whole day to do.
I heard that. Dude. You had to stand in that little suction thing, and yep.
Yep, and that's the background story. That's the lore to it. But yeah, no, it's an absolute replica. Thank you for tuning in to Booty HQ this week. We got another exciting episode coming right at you next week, so tune in.